Aloha everyone, my name is Lane Davy, also known as Lanesky. I'll be your instructor for this summer session, English 273, an intro to creative writing. My background as a scholar is actually comes from religion, so um, biblical literature, mythology, Hawaiian mo'olelo, and a number of sacred texts are really my foundation in literature, but I'm also a journalist. I wrote for the Honolulu Star Advertiser and Oceanic Cable, but mainly I contributed to a wide range of surfing magazines. I started surfing in 1987. At that time, there were very few women in the surf, so I began to document sort of women's stories in a very male dominated industry, and also started the first functional women's surfwear range as I traveled doing the professional world tour. Um, so my research in English, I got my PhD in performative literature, which really means different things to different people. But for me, um, it means looking at things like dance, animation, art, and surfing as literature and creative writing. So when I write a wave, I see it as a form of writing in response to my reading of the surf conditions, which also forms a type of literature. In this class, we'll be looking at Star Wars, hip hop, and He'enalu or surfing to establish more modern forms of creative writing. And we're really going to focus on the relationships between traditional alphabetic text, or actually words, and new media. So, we can just write words, but in these days, we have to write our words in a way that it relates to and effectively is channeled through the new media and the different forms of performative and communicative language we have today. So my hope is that by the end of the class, you're going to gain confidence in your ability to write effectively across a number of digital and multimodal platforms aimed at diverse audiences. So let's get right into it. Everything is going to be on Laulima. My email is there in the overview. It's also in the syllabus. The syllabus is going to be the main thing you go to know what you're supposed to be doing throughout the semester. So we have two things here. One is the syllabus, and then one is the schedule. The schedule has every single thing you need to do here. And you can just click on it. So this is the intro lecture here. Your first post, you're just going to click on it, and this is where you will read and submit your post. And so you can also go to the post here by discussion posts, class discussions, and they're all listed there. So let's go to the syllabus. And basically, I have simplified this as much as possible. You have two major things to do throughout the next 6 weeks. One is a final project worth 40 points. So that's a lot. And I encourage you guys to all start thinking about your final projects right away and even start working on them. And then you have 15 posts, which are in about 4 different weeks. For the first 4 weeks, you're gonna do some readings, which for me, readings are also watching movies or clips. And you will be doing some critical literary analysis on films, on surfing performances. You'll be doing some creative writing in these posts, and that's 60 points. There are 10 extra credit points, which means you can miss about 2 posts and still get an A for the semester. But you must do posts 1, 2, 3, 11, and 15 because you have to complete 4,000 polished written words to pass this course. Your final project is going to be 3,000 words. So by doing these right here, you should get the full 4,000, which is why there's really just 3 main things about the post that you must follow the prompt, and you must meet the word count. There's a minimum and a maximum. And the reason for that is because nobody's post should be the same. If I asked you to pull a quote from a reading, for example, you should not be using a quote that somebody else has already used. You should not be analyzing a scene and have it be similar to another person's scene using their same content. What does that mean? That means when you go to do a post, there's already going to be people who have posted before you. So you need to read the full thing first. And then when you go to do yours, make sure it's original. You can actually build on other people's posts if you find something intriguing and simply say, oh, this person quoted so and so. I agree or disagree with that. And then you use another quote. You could do a scene and say, oh, so and so commented on this about the scene, but I think this is really important about the scene. So that is great if you want to do that, or you can just do your own, but you have to do original content. If your post is really similar to somebody who posted before you, you're going to get a 0. If you simply follow what is asked of you in the post, you're going to get the full credit and meet the word count. Your assignments are due every week, so you can do them all at once, or you can do it spaced out throughout the week. They're due on Saturday at 2 p.m. In weeks 2 and 3, I actually give you a grace period of a week, so it's due at the end of the week on Saturday, but I give you until the following Saturday to complete it. And week 4, you have a week and a half. That's because week 5, you'll spend working completely on your final papers and projects. And then on week 6, you're going to turn in those final papers and projects right here to the post final projects. And your final post will be to use 3 of of the other students' presentations or projects to write about creative writing in the modern age. So that's pretty much the semester. So let's look at the final project. And well, first I want to say there's no late. I will not accept anything late after those. I mean, this is extremely lenient that I'm letting you guys have a whole week and 2 weeks to complete your assignments. You really shouldn't get behind. But people have things that happen. But the discussion forum will close and I will not accept assignments after that. If you have some issue, like you're going out into the field in the military, or you're traveling to a place where maybe you can't get online or something, you need to let me know about that ahead of time and maybe we can work it out. The only other exception would be like a medical emergency where you have a doctor's notes that says, you got sick. But, this is 6 weeks and I don't have much time at the end to get your grades in. So you could get an incomplete or something like that. But things need to be turned in on time. So the final project, the goal for my class is just to give you the opportunity to do some creative writing that you want to do. It may be something that you put on, has been on the back burner, and I just hope this gives you the time to like sit down and do some writing. Again, to me, writing can be anything. It doesn't have to be words. We have to complete the 4,000 words, but they can supplement artwork, surfing performances, video clips, animation, a podcast. And that's the kind of thing I want you guys to do for your paper. Um, you can do very traditional creative writing or, something totally modern, uh, like a website or a YouTube page, which, a YouTube page requires writing an introduction to your page, biographies, descriptions of the various, um, you know, clips you put up. Um, and so would a social media campaign. These types of things would be totally acceptable as a project. The project, um, if you're a gamer and you want to write a game, that's a acceptable project. You could even write a bio for a character. You could write an autobiography a biography or something focused around that. But the paper needs to have three things. One is a proposal, one is project, the actual project, and then a promotion for the project. So, what do you mean by a proposal? So, let's say you're going to be a journalist. You're going to write an article for the New York Times. You'll go to the New York Times. You'll look for uh, guest op-ed or guest columns, and you'll see what are their guidelines. And you're actually going to propose this to whoever it is. You're going to find the name. Who is this person that I would need to contact to submit my article? And then you're gonna pitch this person. What is the pitch gonna include? You're gonna tell them about your article. You're gonna tell them about yourself and why you're the person to be writing this article. And you're gonna have to summarize the article and tell them why it fits for their particular publication and why it's important. Why are people gonna read it? So, you're going to do that. And then you're going to write the article, which, for many, like just an op-ed might just be like 600 words. Some publications you can submit short stories, which are much more longer. And you can do longer op-eds as well. Um, and then finally, you're going to promote that work. You're going to pretend like whoever you proposed it to um, accepted it, and then you're going to do some type of social media post or something that you would use to promote your work. And you're going to talk about you're going to tell me why you chose that particular outlet to promote your work. And you could do several um, as well. So, for example, if I wrote an article about breakdancing going into the Olympics for the Seattle Times recently, and I would promote it on my Instagram because that's where I have the most followers. But the better outlet would be something like Twitter, where people are more interested in, news and politics. So you could talk about that as I've just said it. Um, So there's a whole list of options down here that you should read through thoroughly for your papers. I'll just name a couple more. So like as a gamer, again, you could, who's in the gaming industry? Who are you going to submit your game to? It could just be the character. And then you would propose, here's a sample of a character that I'm writing for this game. You're going to tell us why the game's important. What messages are you going to convey in your game? Why are people going to be interested in it? All those types of things would be in the proposal. And then you can just have a small sample of the game, whether it be a level, whether it be like some characters and some props. You're going to have to write descriptions about those characters and props. So that's part of your paper. Again, you could do just a sample of a movie script. You could do a scene. Your proposal is going to describe how it fits into the whole movie and what key themes, messages, uh, audiences it's aimed at. You can you can do a website, a personal website. Um, Either, you might be an influencer. So what is going to be in that website? You're going to have to do a bio. You're going to have to do an intro to the site. You might be selling something. I had a student who was she made jewelry and she created her website with a store. Each one of those items has a description. So all these things could count towards your 3,000 words. And, that is very much creative writing. To have to go write a description about a piece of jewelry. Um, you have to be creative, and sometimes it might be you, right? It might be your inspiration for the jewelry. So you could also do an art project and write about that art project as how you got your inspiration for it, describing the various mediums that you use to do the art, the methods. So I did some NFTs a couple years ago and got into a few galleries. And so it's a fairly detailed description of each of those. Um, that adds up, So I did a page on OpenSea, which, you know, hosts NFTs. So you could do that. I had to do an intro. I had to do a bio. I had to write about every single one of the artworks that I put up on there. If you're, let's say you're a singer or a rapper, you could do the same thing with SoundCloud. You put up the SoundCloud intro, bio, inspiration for each each song. My husband is a photographer. You can create a website and have several galleries um, talking about, you can go into detail about how you got the photo. My husband could do that for hours. You could do it on a video clip. You could do it with writing. Um, the possibilities are endless here. You could be a surfer and just have like writing about your surf sessions and the people you talk to. Um, you could do it with hula. You could do it with hip hop. Anything. You could just have a collection of clips. If you're an animator, you could have a collection of your animations. A video creator, and it goes on and on. So the main thing is that you kind of read through these, get an idea, and then feel free to run your ideas across me at any time during the semester. The sooner the better. Once you have your idea, you might need help, like, well, how am I going to propose this? If you do your own website, how are you going to write a proposal? It's more of a description um, about your website than a proposal that you might put somewhere to attract people to your website. So, best thing to do is just get the idea of what you're going to write, start writing it, and send it to me if you need me to look at it, if you have questions. Um, and you will have that until, just a few days before um, it's due. And then again, you when you promote it, that will be there on your site here, and where other students are going to look at your work and choose different people's projects to write their final post about creative writing. Now, this isn't a digital media class or a creative media class. So, you know, um, You can use the art as much or little as you want. You could just write a description in Word about the art. Like let's say if you choose a picture for your promotion, or you're using a picture to show your video game, you could just describe the picture. They can be totally mock-ups of like a social media post. They could be real, up to you. But I really encourage you to get the photos, do the creative part to some extent. I mean, if you're writing a video game or you're writing a movie script, you certainly might not be the person to do the art. But if you're not, don't have some understanding of it, I think it will limit your ability to write. And, we have AI. You can use things like Adobe Firefly, which is free, to generate an AI image. For your portfolios and your sites and everything like that. So main thing, just talk to me if you have questions. How are you going to be graded on the project? You got to have the 3 components. I am not going to grade your creativity. Um, who am I to judge, But I want to see polished work in both the papers and the posts. I want you to be creative in your approaches and your content, as well as your writing, which, might be a video or it might be a short story, or it might be an autobiography. Um, and and so you need to have those 3 things. Also, it cannot be a research paper. This is creative writing. It should be original content. You could write, you could use a science paper, or you could write a research paper about the reefs, but you would have to write yourself into that and why it's important. It would have to be some type of biography or story that leads us into some research about the reef. That would be acceptable, but not just a straight up academic paper on why we should save the reef. So anyways, I think I've pretty much covered it all. I'm just going to show you some basic creative writing just to kick off the class. What is creative writing? That is one of the first things you're going to be looking into. Um, so it involves fiction, things like plots, character arcs, points of view, poetry, form, repetition, pattern, sound. Another project you could do uh, poetry and write about your poetry. Um, Creative nonfiction. So, um, truth, reflection, story, and journalism, memoir, and biography all fall under that. We'll be going through some of that. And yeah, so I'm going to leave it at that. And I really look forward to your projects and what you come up with throughout the semester. And I really do want to go back to what I first said, which is this should be fun. You really should have fun with this. I'm not a tough grader. As long as you follow the prompt and meet your word counts, you know, you're gonna do good. And hopefully you'll have something that you might actually submit to a publisher, or just something that you have for yourself to reflect on later. And yeah, so always email if you have any questions, and I look forward to the class. Aloha.